Assalamu alaikum viewers and students. Today is the sixth lecture in the lecture series on the subject of sociology. My name is Sir Muhammad Zishan. I am a lecturer in sociology. I am a PhD scholar and also PPSC lecturer topper. Now our today's topic of discussion is socialization, personality formation and its major theories. Now first of all we will look at what socialization is. Socialization is basically the lifelong social experience by which people develop their human potential and learn their culture. Or we can also simply say the lifelong process of learning to live in a human society is also known as socialization. And this socialization basically becomes the foundation of our personality, that is, a person's fairly consistent patterns of acting, thinking, and feeling. Now here are some agents of socialization. These are basically those members or groups in a society that influence individual human social behavior and their actions. Now some of the agents are family, school, peer groups, basically your friends, mass media and your social class. Uh, like you can see in this slide, family is basically usually the first setting of socialization. It has the greatest impact on our attitudes and behaviors, and this helps in shaping a child's personality, including giving him or her race and social class. Likewise, schools also provide children with their experience with bureaucracy and impersonal evaluation, teaches them knowledge and skills, exposes them to greater social diversity, and so on. Likewise, your peer group helps shape your attitudes and behaviors, and it takes great importance during your adolescence time period. Likewise, mass media also has a huge impact on the socialization in modern and high-income societies. For instance, in US, every child spends as much time watching TV and videos as attending schools and interacting with parents. Now, here are also some other agents of socialization, like I've mentioned: family, peer group, religion, government, media, workplace, ethnic background, clubs or social groups, and school. Now, here are some important types of socialization. First one is primary socialization, that is, which occurs in early childhood and involves learning the basic norms and values of one society. While secondary socialization occurs in professional settings like office, business, public dealings, etc. Anticipatory socialization occurs when one prepares for future role or status by adopting the norms and values of that group. Similarly, developmental socialization occurs throughout one's life and involves learning new skills and behaviors that are appropriate for one's age and stage. And last but not the least, resocialization. This occurs when one discards old behaviors and accepts new ones as a result of a major life change or new social environment. Now, there is a concept of total institution, which is basically a setting in which people are isolated from the rest of society and manipulated by an administrative staff. You can say that this can be a very good example of resocialization. Now again, in this slide you can see socialization is the process of learning about and adopting the social norms and values of society. An explanation is given here along with some of its major types. Now, the next concept is human development, nature and nurture. Now there is a very heated debate as to how human personality develops over the period of time, whether there is a role of nature in its development, as is the focus of biological sciences, or there is a role of nurturing, that is the focus of social sciences. So we can say that if we take the point of view of biological sciences, there was this famous person known Charles Darwin in his groundbreaking 1859 study of evolution, where he has described that culture led people to think that human behavior was instinctive, that is simply our nature. That is basically not learned, but it is part of our nature. Whereas if we look at the point of view of social sciences, in 20th century biological explanations of human behavior came under fire. Psychologist John B. Watson developed a theory called behaviorism, which holds that behavior is not instinctive but learned. Thus, people everywhere are equally human, differing only in their cultural patterns. Therefore, Watson rooted human behavior not in nature but in nurture. And we can say that without denying the importance of nature, we can correctly say that nurture matters more in shaping the human behavior, or more precisely, nurture is our nature. So, in order to further understand the concept of socialization, we will look at some of the important works of following researchers, which are Sigmund Freud, Jean Piaget, Lawrence Kohlberg, Carol Gilligan, George Herbert Mead, Charles Horton Cooley, and Eric H. Erikson. All of these have made long-lasting contributions to our understanding of human development. Now, first of all, we will look at Sigmund Freud's model of personality development. According to Freud, the personality of a person comprises of three different parts. The first part he has given the name of id, that is the human being's basic drives. Second part he called it ego, a person's conscious efforts to balance innate pleasure-seeking drives, that is his id, with the demands of society. And the third part, according to him, was superego, the cultural values and norms that are internalized by an individual. And as a resulting of the working of these three parts, the personality of a person is formed. Now second comes Jean Piaget. His stages of development are divided into four stages. The first stage is known as sensory motor stage, the level of human development at which individuals experience the world only through their senses. After that comes pre-operational stage, the level of human development at which individuals first use language and other symbols. Third comes the concrete operational stage, the level of human development at which individuals first see causal connections in their surroundings. While the last stage is formal operational stage, the level of human development at which individuals think abstractly and critically. Now after that comes Karl Kohlberg's theory of moral development. According to Kohlberg's level of moral development, there are three different stages. First is pre-conventional level, that is children must accept the authority and moral code of others. If action leads to punishment, it must be bad. If it leads to reward, it must be good. While second is conventional level, children believe that social rules and the expectation of others determine what is acceptable or unacceptable behavior. A social system that stresses the responsibilities of relationships and social order is seen as desirable and must, therefore, influence our views of right and wrong. While the third stage is post-conventional level, that is, what is right is based on an individual's understanding of universal ethical principles. What is considered morally acceptable in any given situation is determined by what is the response most in keeping with these principles. Now fourth is Carol Gilligan's theory of gender and moral development. According to Carol Gilligan, the approach highlights in the thinking about diversity box compared with the moral development of girls and boys, and concluded that the two sexes use different standards of rightness. For instance, according to Gilligan, boys have a justice perspective that is relying on formal rules to define right and wrong, whereas on the other hand, girls have care and responsibility perspective that is judging a situation with an eye toward personal relationship and loyalties. For example, as boys see it, stealing is wrong because it breaks the law, whereas girls are more likely to wonder why someone would steal and to be sympathetic toward a person who steals, say to feed her family. Kohlberg treats rule-based male reasoning as superior to the person-based female approach, and Gilligan notes that impersonal rules dominate men's lives in the workplace, but personal relationships are more relevant to women's lives as mothers and caregivers. Now the fifth is George Herbert Mead's theory of social self, which is considered as one of the most important theories in sociology. According to George Herbert Mead, he developed the theory of social behaviorism to explain how social experience develop an individual's personality. According to him, the self, Mead's central concept is the self, the part of an individual's personality composed of self-awareness and self-image. Mead's genius was in seeing the self as the product of social experience. Now, how this self is developed? First is the self is not there at birth, but it develops over the period of time. Secondly, as the self develops, it develops only with social experience as the individual interact with others. While after that, social experience is the exchange of symbols. Fourthly, seeking meaning leads people to imagine other people's intentions. That is, we draw conclusion from people's actions. Fifth, understanding intention requires imagining the situation from others' point of view. That is, imagining ourselves in another person's shoes. And last but not the least, the I and the me sixth point is that by taking the role of the other, we become self-aware and develop our personality. Now, there are parts of the self, that is the I and the me. I is basically the active and spontaneous part of self, med called the active side of the self I, the subjective form of the personal pronoun. Whereas me, the other part of the self, works as an object. That is the way we imagine others see, how others see us. Med called the objective side of the self, the me, that is the objective form of the personal pronoun. All social experience has both components, and we initiate an action, the I phase or subject side of self. And then we continue the action based on how others respond to us, the me phase or object side of self. Everyday life demands that we see ourselves in terms of cultural norms as any member of our society might. And Med use the term generalized others to refer to widespread cultural norms and values we use as reference in evaluating ourselves with others. Further elaborating the concept of the development of self, you can see that according to Med, the key to developing the self is learning to take the role of other. And this can be done, if you can see, infants can do this only through imitation. That is, they mimic the behavior of others without understanding or their underlying intentions. And at this point, they have no self. After that, as children learn to use language and other symbols, the self emerges in the form of play. That is, assuming the roles modeled on significant others with people like parents who have special importance for socialization. After that, children learn to take the role of several others at once. This skill lets them move from simple play, for example, playing catch with one another, to complex games like baseball, involving many others. And after that, by about age 7, most children have the social experience needed to engage in team sports. But there is a final stage in the development of the self. A game involves the taking the role of specific people in just one situation. Now, sixth person or researcher is C.H. Cole, the looking glass self theory, which was presented by him. This theory states that as we interact with others, the people around us become a mirror, like an object that people used to call a looking glass in which we can see ourselves. What we think of ourselves then depends on how we think others see us. For example, if we think others see us as clever, we will think of ourselves in the same way. But if we feel they think of us as clumsy, then that is how we will see ourselves. And you can understand this theory by the help of this diagram. For instance, how my mom and dad sees me, they can see me as good person. How my life partner or girlfriend sees me as a strong person. How my older brother sees me as a weak person. And how my ex-partner or ex-girlfriend sees me as an evil person. So this is how the looking glass self theory performs and acts. Now the seventh is Eric H. Erickson's 8 stages of development. According to Eric H. Erickson, the personality of a person develops through 8 stages, and these stages are explained by him in quite a lot of detail. For instance, if you can see, stage 1, which he called infancy, is the challenge of trust versus mistrust. That is between when a child is born till 18 months, infant faces the first life of life's challenges and tries to establish a sense of trust that their world is a safe place. After that stage comes the toddlerhood, that is the challenge of autonomy versus doubt and shame. And this stage lasts up to age 3. in which the child learn skills to cope with the world in a confident way, while failing to gain self-control leads the child to doubt their abilities. Third is the preschool stage, the challenge of initiative versus guilt, and this stage lasts up till 5 years, in which the child must learn to engage with his or her surroundings, including people outside the family, or experience the guilt at failing to meet the expectation of parents and others. Fourth stage is pre-adolescent stage, in which there is a challenge of industriousness versus inferiority. This stage usually lasts from 6 years till 13 years, and children enter school, make friends, and strike out on their own more and more. They either feel proud of their accomplishments or fear that they do not measure up. After that comes adolescent stage, in which there is a challenge of gaining identity versus confusion. During the teen years, teenage, that is from 13 till 19 years, young people struggle to establish their own identity. In part, teenagers identify themselves with others, but they also want to be unique. Almost all teens experience some confusion as they struggle to establish an identity. After that comes the young adulthood stage, in which there is a challenge of intimacy versus isolation. The challenge for young adults is to form and maintain intimate relationships with others, that is, falling in love as well as making close friends, involves balancing the need to bond with the need to have a separate identity. After that comes the middle adulthood, the challenge of making a difference versus self-absorption. The challenge of middle age is contributing to the lives of others in family, at work, and in the larger world. Failing at this, people become self-centered, caught up in their own limited concerns. And last but not the least comes the old age, that is the challenge of integrity versus despair. As the life of end of life approaches, people hope to look back on what they have accomplished with a sense of integrity and satisfaction. For those who have been self-absorbed, old age brings only a sense of despair over missed opportunities. So that will be all for our today's lecture. Do like and subscribe for more such videos. Until then, Allah Hafiz.